In today's video, we're going to be diving into the upcoming pattern, taking a look here at the tropics, as we do have a little bit of activity to track here, which is different than we could say for the past week or so. We're also going to be discussing the upcoming pattern where we do expect to warm up from these cooler temperatures that we've been experiencing for multiple weeks now, but models are currently showing things cool back down by the time we're reaching late September. So we're going to be going over that roller coaster later on. Also, storminess with this kind of back and forth pattern could be on the rise, which is actually good news for a lot of the central and eastern states, as things have been quite dry in many locations and look for, at least in the short to medium term, to be quite dry. Any outlook showing quite a bit of rainfall is overall good news at this point. So let's first off dive into the tropics. I guess I should note first, we uploaded our updated winter forecast just yesterday, number 2. You can check that out on the top right corner of your screen. Now let's dive into the tropics, and we have the GFS model guidance underneath everything that you guys can see happening. We have this area here coming off of Africa, as much of them tend to do. 0% chance of the next 2 days, which is always indicative of a more medium to long-term threat, so that will eventually probably have a percentage. Once we're getting closer to the expected time frame, that one could develop. But over the next 7 days, we do have a 30% chance of development. So this one sits at a low to moderate chance of development. We're going to be tracking this one very closely. I will say the current guidance as far as the GFS does show a overall kind of curvature here to the north once it gets semi to the middle of the Atlantic here. I'm going to draw it in white so we can see it a little easier, but it does something like this with the track, which would be good news, obviously, for the Caribbean, United States, and Central America. We're going to continue to track it. Another thing I want to go over with this 12Z GFS model run is that we do see the system move into the Gulf here, which we see it move north of the Yucatan Peninsula here. We do see it, this is by the 20th, start to kind of come together, stalls out, and we see something really developing by the time we're reaching the 25th here. This is very, very far out, so take it with a grain of salt. That does move into the Gulf Coast there of the United States later on this model run, but it's something we're going to monitor as a potential time frame to watch for development in the Gulf. The specifics, it's just too far out to really pay too much attention to it, but this time of year, anything developing in the Gulf could be really, really bad news, so we're going to continue to just track this moving forward. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of our other model guidance to take a look at. And first things first, we're going to take a look at the 6 to 10 day temperature outlook from the National Weather Service. And this goes from the 17th through the 21st. Again, we are expected to warm up here in the central and eastern states over time. And this will be in full swing effect by the 17th into the 21st timeframe. Interestingly, typically with this type of pattern, you'd see cooler temperatures along the west. But in this situation, we have coast to coast warmth. Interesting. It's been a while since we've had a pattern like this. We'll see how long it expects to hang on for, but 8 to 14 day outlook doesn't look too much different for the 19th through the 25th. Although I do expect over the coming days, this one could start to cool down. Once we're looking at the 20th through the 26th and 21st through the 27th, we could start to see this cool down in the central and eastern states if the model guidance continues to suggest cooler than normal conditions, again, for that late September timeframe. We'll talk about that in a second. Here's how the past 10 days of temperatures have been. So basically the 2nd through the 11th of September here. Overall, it's been mostly warmer along the west, which we call a positive PNA effect. And this has forced a lot of cooler air into the central and eastern states throughout the first, I would say, it's the 3rd of September. And that is going to bode well for the month of September overall, going down cooler than normal, depending on how long this warm up that is coming up lasts. So we will see how that entirety of the month of September goes. Very curious to see how that ends up. The precipitation here, we're going to see that it does remain drier for most of this model run. We start to get more optimistic as we move from the medium range into the long range, which, as we always say, I mean, you'd rather it for confidence to be in the short to medium term, but this is a sign, a signal, and we're going to track it and see if the models stick with this. As we move just through the weekend, I mean, we do get quite a bit of activity here in the central states. We've been kind of expecting that. So thunderstorms and showers, a possibility over the coming days. The Northwest as well, seeing some activity, but very minimal in the east, as you can see through this time frame, which for a 3-day period wouldn't be that crazy, other than the fact that it's already been dry, and we expect it to stay pretty dry after this point for a while. We could see some coastal activity starting to get going by mid next week, Tuesday into Wednesday. That's the 16th into the 17th. If you live along the eastern seaboard, you would know we have kind of experienced a very dreary kind of coastal storm system with just a relentless drizzle is what I would call it. I mean, it was just like a mist coming down for what felt like 2 days straight. I think we got like an inch of rainfall over 2 days here in my neck of the woods in Virginia from a drizzle and a mist that just kept on going for so long. It just adds up. So I wonder if this will be a heavier system or if this would be similar to that. We'll have to see, of course, as we get closer. Activity kind of continues here for the northern plains, as you can see. As we keep going, we start to see more of this southeast area get going, and we start to get a little bit more widespread with the activity. A lot of the southern Mississippi River area, overall the deeper southeast, and even up the Carolina coastline, we're seeing activity here by this point. Still, the kind of west and central states seeing some activity as well. This is by Saturday the 20th. So again, that's 9 days out before we start to see activity picking up. Kind of the late medium to early long range time frame. After that point, thankfully, we start to move into something where we have this flow up the East Coast. Start to see a lot more activity in this area. The Mid-Atlantic and Northeast particularly needs it badly. We do see a low here near the Great Lakes with a cold front, and this is actually going to move us on this model run back into a trough in the east, ridge in the west pattern around the 25th time frame. This low in this area is very indicative of that as well and would bring much needed precipitation. So this is all around good news if we can see something like this come together in the long range. It's just in the long range, so we're going to have to see if that actually does come through or not. Looking at the total precipitation, we could see a couple hot spots like the central and northern plains. Also like the Carolinas in here, some of that Mississippi River area a little active, but we're getting closer to normal for most of these areas. That's kind of the positive note here. Looking at the anomalies, there is still some very dry spots. We're seeing a lot less of the reds, though. We had widespread reds throughout a lot of these areas. In previous model runs, it's gotten a little bit more optimistic. Still, a lot of the west and central states seeing some of the above average amounts, and now some of the eastern areas seeing above average amounts. So I think we're moving in the right direction here. Time will tell, of course. Let's take a look at that temperature pattern, of course, and as we take a look, we could see we're still holding on to cooler air up until maybe the 15th for the immediate coastal areas. Then we're more of a neutral pattern. The west starts to cool down, and we're warming up in the east for the most part. It's right around the 22nd, 23rd, 24th where we start to get this second coming of this warm, stacked column of air in the west from Mexico straight up through western United States and western Canada, and immediately we start to get some Arctic action coming into the United States via Canada, obviously up there in the northern areas of Canada and the Arctic region. It moves straight down through Canada into the United States with some pretty severe cool air compared to normal. Some greens popping up. By the time it gets to the east here on this model run, at least, it's not that severe. This is, I would say, slightly to moderately below normal temperatures. But we'll have to see how it kind of evolves, if it even takes place. This would be, again, coming after the 20th of September at the very least. The GFS model, actually, it's pretty meaningful, actually, is going to agree in the long range. And if you're taking something in the long range and trying to figure out if there's, you know, a slim possibility or a strong possibility that something is going to happen, two of the most major models agreeing on it is going to lean you in the direction of like, okay, there's some legs to stand on here a little bit. We do see the cooler air, and it's actually much cooler on this GFS model at times with the greens popping up. And this one comes after the 20th as well. Right around the same time frame, you see the 20th, 21st, 22nd, it starts to move in. So time will tell. We're going to watch this closely. Curious to see if it comes through. I would love some very fall-like conditions for September once again. Be really cool to see. So we'll see, guys. With all that being said, we upload every single day. Be sure to subscribe. You can even hit the bell icon for daily notifications when we upload so you never miss one. Be sure to like the video if you did enjoy it. Leave a comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.